No CalAm! Save our water! 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 No CalAm! Save our water!
The front, take a seat for a second. We'll just go over a little bit of this evening, just a couple minutes real quick, and then let everyone get back to looking at the information and asking questions and voicing different thoughts.
Hello everyone, my name is Josh Stratton. I'm the External Affairs Manager for California American Water. Thank you for coming and sharing your evening with us tonight. You know, we all have other things that we could do at night. One of the things that we wanted to just kind of explain the setup for tonight. We didn't want this to be a monologue with us to you. We want this to be a dialogue between us and you and answer your questions specifically for each one. So, as I think many of you have already seen, we have various sections around the displays around the room. So they're interactive, so you can ask questions. We've got Rihanna and Emily over there. Raise your hands. So they're going to help any questions. So we're going to, if you have, we have 3x5 cards. You can write down questions or anything you'd like, and they'll help facilitate that. There's also the guy whispering himself, looks like mumbling to himself in the back there. That's actually Diego Solis. He is an interpreter. So if anybody would like some Spanish language assistance, Diego can help with that and give you. You can do it with him, or he can give you a microphone. Then we've got Luke over there taking us pictures. We've got Joe DiMaggio. Joe, can you raise your hand? So Joe's back there. He's going to be doing conservation. We've got Wes Owens back there. He's going to help with with bill samples. So if anybody has questions on how the bills look and the pieces and parts of it, go back there. Wes, raise your hand. All right, back there. Okay. We've got Tim O'Halloran over there. He's going to explain. He's our engineering manager, so he's going to help with all that. We've got conservation. We've got Chris, of course, is the head of operations. So anyway, that's sort of just a brief introduction here, so you can get out there and ask any questions that you want. And again, my name is Josh Stratton. If you have any questions, you can come ask me as well.
I've got a question.
Okay, one question. We're trying to make this an interactive thing. Yes.
I've been here 12 years. I've had so many rate increases, yet my water, I just had it tested, when it's supposed to be 2 parts per million is 11. What's going on? Why are we paying more and getting less?
Well, that is a big question. Wes is the one back there who deals with kind of rates and billing, so I think that would be...
Also, I'd like to know if there's a person that we can contact who we can directly give messages to about our specific complaints. Because when you do this and you ask us to fill out a form or fill in something by a certain date, everybody is so busy just hanging on that we'd like a steady, responsible person who will hear us and get every piece of information from us and will know that we can trust them to pass that on to the powers that be.
Perfect. That's me. I'm happy to go over and I'll step aside and I will be accountable to you to the best of my ability. Okay, well thank you. Want to let everybody go back there and I'll go speak with you right now?
Yeah, I haven't had it tested.
Thank you.
So the goal of this is to have our employees directly be able to interact with everybody, answer questions. We'll definitely address that question. So if you want to go around and talk with everyone, I think it's a critical time right now. We're in drought. We're getting some new water supplies. We're seeing infrastructure go in. We've had questions on that. And billing changes with questions. So I think we're going to get a lot of good questions tonight. We brought a lot of people in who can answer a lot of those or listen to concerns and follow up. So if people want to walk around and talk to everyone, I think you introduced the tables and there's little signs. So we hope to get your questions and input and go from there. So thank you, everybody.
And why is New Jersey taking care of our water?
So basically, that's where American Water is based, and there's Kentucky American Water. So we're California American Water.
Yes, but are the people that are managing these decisions and increases from our neighborhood?
Yeah, well, a lot of
And
we
who
have
would they
a
be?
local office, and then we're also managed regulated by the CPUC.
But CPUC has done nothing then, because to go up to 11 parts per million, what have they done?
Won't be giving out conservation stuff over there.
We are highly regulated.
You're regulated? Obviously
They
not.
want to hear about the project.
That's a matter of perspective.
Yes, well, it's more than a perspective, it's a fact.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm more than happy to help. The best of my ability, it's all we can do is communicate.
Okay, so,
Try to give you an honest answer. And
right, you're gonna be the person that's gonna receive these emails. And what should we put in the heading so that you know it's Seaside? Seaside CalAm, or comments from Seaside, or?
however you want to phrase it.
Well, I just wanted to be consistent from everyone so that everybody knows what this is called.
Tonight's
So that,
meeting? Or?
yeah, not just tonight's meeting, but that we are
The opportunity, the money, the commitment, the campaign.
letting you know by every time you look at these emails, you'll see it's us. You'll know us.
So who's
if
us?
it- Us is people in Seaside that are not happy with CalAm.
Sure, yeah.
And the people are
Pick the title and then we'll go with it.
Okay, I'll pick. Thank you very much.
Can I ask you, what was the, I wondered what the total dissolved solids were? Salt or dirt? I'll find out.
I want to talk to you about my water quality. I live on Ord Grove Avenue, and there's a Luzerne treatment well right on the corner of Luzerne and us, and there's a big well in the street. My water is so stinky, bad, I don't drink it. I have to filter everything. It's got a high chlorine smell to it. What do we do to get it tested? Or what's the story? And is that treatment well, because it's less than a block away from me, is that affecting our water?
I don't believe so. I mean, it shouldn't. I mean, the water's all tested regularly before it goes out. So, I mean, without trying to deflect or pass the buck, I mean, sometimes it's the pipes from the street to the house sometimes has things in it, but if it smells like chlorine, that may not be the case. But
It's worse than chlorine. It's got this weird, sweet chemical smell to it.
we'd love to test it.
So if you test it, I don't want you to come out and run 50 gallons and then test the water.
Right, it's not like a well.
No.
We test a well. I've heard
you
people
just-
complain about a well where they run it and waste all the water. Yeah.
No, and not only that, but they run it out so you can't get that smell and stuff that comes out. You're testing water that's already flowed through, not the stuff that's coming out from. And I'd like to get that tested. How do I do that?
Perfect. Let me put you in touch with the right person. Because I'm just the kind of the go-between.
PR guy, right?
Well, for sure, but I mean, I'm the one that fields the questions.
Or the liaison.
Gives you to the expert. So, you want to write down?
Yeah.
Let's go through 3x5 card.
Okay.
You can write down my information. You can send me an email,
Okay.
or you can write down yours. I'll contact
Okay, just
you.
give me your email.
Okay, it's Josh. Stratton. STRATTON. At amwater.com.
Oh, Amazon. Okay, I will send you an email. And will they come out to the house and do that then?
Yeah, and that's what there's a conservation table right there. He's actually really good at that. So
Okay,
what they'll do is
guys sitting down?
Yeah, so if it's conservation, believe it or not, we want people to conserve. We're not sort of haze. Let's get more money by having people waste water. We want to conserve water as much as possible. So we actually have quite a few.
Well, and also,
conservation
they came and worked on some pipes down the street. They had a real problem down in my block. And they made us flush the system. And we had to pay for all that water. We had to run water for a certain amount of time. This was about 4 months ago. And we had to pay for all of that.
Do we want to
Yeah, those are the kind of things. That even prior to this job, I had a leak in my house one time.
Yeah.
Where's it? I couldn't find it. There's water leaking. The bills are going crazy. I couldn't find it. And long before I had this job or knew anything about it, I actually told somebody they had a leak. And there's lots of forgiveness programs. You know, if you find a leak, we want you to fix it. Incentivize it.
Right, but it wasn't at our house, it was in the main on the street. And they said we want everybody to flush their water down. And
That's the kind of
gallons and gallons, and they just charged us for it.
I get perfect, and that's why we do these kind of things, because we want to kind of. So those are the kind of things that you let me know, and I can help you with the bill.
Okay.
And get some of that resolved. And testing water, absolutely. And I'm not trying to pass it. I don't want to seem like I'm reflecting because I'm the water that comes to the well, it goes everywhere. So if there's a house or a block where the water smells funny. I mean, it's not supposed to smell funny. It could be a plumbing pipe in the house.
Well, we have had all our pipes redone.
Okay, yeah.
So we don't think it's us, and we even have the pipe that goes out to the street redone.
Okay.
We live in Seaside, and I know the plumbing, I know the underground pipes. I have no idea what's going on there, but I've heard there's a lot of problems.
Yeah, well, let's. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll have somebody go out there and we'll test the water.
Okay.
We'd love to do that.
Okay. All right, because I really want to see what's going on because I don't think it's healthy. It really has a weird smell to it. It's like it's chemicals.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't, and I worry about that well being so close to our house.
Right.
And that's where they treat it. So.
Yeah. I'd be curious to know as well. I mean, these kind of concerns are an anomaly. I mean, not many people's water smells. So, I mean, if it does,
Talk to my neighbors and find out.
let's figure it out. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I tell you, I had somebody come down from San Francisco. They took a drink of water out of my spigot and spit it out. It was that bad. And I said, don't drink it! So I have to filter it. Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
No way are they impressive. I mean, it's like, what are they doing? They're adding population growth, housing numbers, Pebble Beach demand, and lots of records. You can't do all that.
Yeah.
It's like one or the other. Because it's like triple counting your demand.
Yeah.
I definitely think if you have detailed questions about that, you should talk to our engineering water supply. I think that, I don't know if he's here. No, Tim O'Halloran over there, and then I think EMD's tonight on the south line.
That's really helpful. And I think from my perspective, this is an opportunity for
They
them
live around
to
here.
learn
They really didn't
where
think
they're
it through. Because houses don't use water, people don't. So it's just population. And Ambeg said this is how the population is estimated. And then you do the math.
Can you tell me more? What does that mean to you?
Right now, there's nothing that you don't need.
Well, like I said, again, I'm sorry, I don't want to contradict you necessarily. You sound like you're the expert. You know a lot about it, you're very involved. So, are you're a party to the city?
Yes, I'm the director of public water.
Right. So I think maybe we met a few years ago. You know, I'm sure you see a lot of folks.
Maybe.
But if you have any questions about like our rate case that we have on our
Right. So it's a cost thing, it's a time thing. What's your sense of how CalAm is looking at demand?
I can answer questions like that about the process, whether or not the supply and demand.
Right.
The PUC process, let's see, can be good. Everything it takes forever.
Yeah, it does. It's definitely a long, involved process.
Save our water! No CalAm! 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 Save our water!
SSCHER.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about what just happened here?
So you know about the history of Sept? You don't know anything? So I moved here 2017. Before I moved here, people already were protesting this project that CalAm is proposing for slant wells, desalination in Marina. It sounds like a good plan to do some desalination, but unfortunately the water will not come from the ocean. Most of the water will come from the aquifers, which happens to be the only ocean water source for Marina Coast Water District customers. So this threatens our water because if they take water, it might also increase the salt water, the seawater intrusion. It will damage our water, contaminate our water.
Save our water.
Need for our drinking. So that's in a nutshell. Of course, there's more. There's also environmental. We have the sensitive coastal habitats. That's why we have the snowy plover here. It's our symbol. This bird is being threatened. It's sad.
What bird is this?
This is a bird that is on the beach. You can see it on the beaches in Marina and on the Bay Area. In the Bay Area.
The name? Do you know the name?
It's a snowy plover.
Hi.
A western snowy plover.
So I heard this referred to as an environmental justice movement. Can you explain a little bit about why you're calling it that?
Yes, because so CalAm will take water. So they build a plant in Marina. They'll take water from the aquifers below Marina. Marina will get none of the water that they will desalinate. Nothing, not a drop. So and also Marina already has quite a few regional utility buildings, would say it, like the dump, and there's quite a lot that Marina as a community already has for the region. And to add this, so the Desal plant, if it will be constructed, the go ahead. It will also cause a lot of brine, and the brine will be, part of it will be solid. It will need to be driven to the dump, which happens to be also in Marina. So will be, I don't know how many trucks there will be daily to move that brine from the desalination location to the plant, to the dump, plant.
Is there an alternative solution that you guys are pushing for?
Yes, the recycled water. Glad you asked. The Monterey water. So it's a really a they work together with several regional. It's really a regional solution, I say that way. And so that's already happening. And now there will be an expansion. Will start being constructed later this year. And together with the water from the first phase, if you can say it, the recycled water, together with the expansion, if they can even get more recycled water up, that will be enough to have enough water even for growth and even during drought for at least 10-15 years for the region. So that's definitely, and that's also a way cheaper solution. Recycled water is the most expensive water you can get. Sorry, did I say recycled? Desalinated water is the most expensive water there is. So recycled water is the better option for the environment and for people's wallets.
CalAm is a private for-profit water company, and they are attempting to build a desalination project on Marina's shores and pump our groundwater without any groundwater rights. And so we are protesting. This has been going on for 4 or 5 years now. The last hearing, when the Coastal Commission recommended denial of this project, the night before CalAm withdrew their application, and we have not heard back for 2 years. Now this is the first community meeting in which they now are saying we want to reach out to the citizens of Marina. But they are been very, very predatory with how they approached our water. And so we're just waiting for the hearing to come back again because the Coastal Commission did, in fact, recommend denying this project. They have to get a coastal development permit. And so they said, no, there's environmental justice to Marina. There are other serious problems with rates, high rates for the peninsula, and many other things that they would harm our wildlife, block our beaches from being used for public access for recreation. So there's many different reasons, and the city of Marina has been very strong about challenging this project here. And our citizens have united and come to protest every single time for the last 3 years. So it's a very important issue. We have our own Marina Coast Water District, right? We already have our public water district. CalAm is a private for-profit company that doesn't even operate in our area, but they want to take our water without any water rights.
We'll go ahead and get started. I'm Chris Cook, Director of Operations with California American Water. Thank you for coming out this evening. Appreciate your time. I think water right now is really important for all of us to be discussing. For California as a whole, we have an emergency drought that was declared by the governor. And then, you know, for California, supplies are limited. So right now, talking about things like conservation, water supply, and even discussions about the day-to-day operations of water and customer assistance for those who have questions regarding their bills or other things. I think it's a good discussion to have with folks, and we have a good format where people can talk directly with employees at California American Water. The venue is really trying to provide information for people, allow people to ask questions one-on-one, and also get people's thoughts. I'm sure a lot of people came here with concerns, and that's good. That's what we're here for. We want to have some dialogue. We want to hear concerns. We want to talk with people. So hopefully that will give an opportunity for that with everybody. And with that, I'll pass it over to Josh Stratton, our Manager of External Affairs.
Thank you, Chris. Chris pretty much summed up what we're going to do, but I'm just going to explain a little bit more the format for the evening. We didn't want to have a monologue. We want to have a dialogue with everyone, which is why we're having an open house format. So you can see around the room, we've got operations. I think many of you have already started circling the room. We've got operations. They can explain some of the source waters, how our system, the CalAm system works. We've also got water supply and engineering. They can explain some of the more details about the specific water supply project and other things that we have around the county. We've got a conservation table. We encourage conservation. We have a pretty robust conservation program. We partner with other water agencies. And we've got Joe DiMaggio there who's going to, he's got some giveaways for you, and he's going to explain some of the conservation programs that we're really proud of. And I think Monterey County does a great job of conserving water. And we're proud of that, but we've got a conservation table. And then we've got a customer assistance table back there that kind of helps people. There aren't too many customers probably in the room tonight, but we wanted to give an opportunity to people to understand how the bill works, what the billing processes are, and how the bill gets to where it is. So we've got some Veronica back there for customer assistance. So we encourage everybody to circle the room. We've got a QR code at the front so people can scan the QR code and you can learn more about the water supply project, more about CalAm and so on. So we encourage people to do that. If you want to do it at another time, we've got 3x5 cards back over there. You can see Evan waving his hand, so at the table upon entry. So we encourage you to write down the cards, put it in the box. And of course, the best thing, the full format for tonight is talk one-on-one with all of us. I've been to the company for a couple months, so I'm not as well versed as many of the others in the room. But, and also my business card is there, so if you have any issues or concerns with CalAm, as the External Affairs Manager, I'd be happy to help anybody, work with anybody with any questions or objections that you may have. We're at the end of this meeting tonight, we're going to have a Q&A time. So at the end of the meeting, we're going to set some time after everybody has an opportunity to circle the room and engage directly. Then we're going to have another opportunity to kind of have more of a dialogue from up here at the front.
Okay,
It's up there.
you said this is an open forum, so we're not allowed to talk with you. We just have to sit here and listen to you guys go on and on about this desal that we don't want.
Well, I'm not going on and on. I'm just explaining the process.
We're here to tell you we don't want the desal. Do you understand?
Great.
No, you don't have the water rights.
He said there'll be question and answers later.
Yeah, so we'll do that later, and that's...
Thank you, Shill.
And that's actually what we want to try to do, is give everybody an opportunity. Everybody has a voice, and we thought this would be the best way for everybody's voice to be heard. So we're gonna, that's so 7:30, we'll reconvene right here, and feel free to comment. We look forward to it.
Really?
All right, thank you.
Really? Really? That's really disappointing.
How you doing, guys? Right. Hopefully, giving our perspective and explaining a little bit more detail about the projects. Pictures show how it works, so that's why I have the poster board up there to illustrate what the project is, and then to have a conversation with the experts.
How would you summarize their concerns?
Well, there are quite a few concerns. We know that people feel like the water's being taken from Marina. I've heard that it's, hey, you're taking our water and you're shipping it other places. There's a lot of that happens. I mean, Carmel River water has gone other places than Carmel. So they could conceptually have said that argument years ago too, like, hey, our river's running dry. Why are you taking our water and sending it to other towns, other cities? So I understand that argument that it's our water. I've heard that there's been environmental impacts out of the dunes. And there's concern about that, which is all valid concerns. So we feel like the EIR that was done, not by us, but by the CPUC, EIR addressed any and all concerns. And then public access was another thing, saying it's our town and some big company's going to come in and put a well in our town. That's why we're really proud of the public access part of the presentation. And then, I don't know if you have a chance to see it, it's got the causeway or the deck, if you will, that goes out there, and wayfinding signs and explains some things out there. So we're actually very happy that we're going to get the CMAX site that's been inaccessible by the community for decades. That's now going to be accessible. So those are the main concerns.
Well, now those are all Marina's concerns. What about the people that are going to have to pay for this? All the people on the peninsula, CalAm's customers.
Yeah.
What are their concerns?
Their concerns that the rates are going to go up. That seems to be one of the main concerns. And so, anytime a new project goes on, I understand that people would be concerned that who's going to pay for this. There are tiered water systems, so our expectation is that with the economies of scale, with more water now, it's not going to be as scarce, that it can actually bring the rates down in some cases. And
you're saying that CalAm would actually lower the water rates?
The tiered system of how you pay. So if you have a certain,
I know, believe me, I'm in the 4th tier. I understand.
Right. So that could happen. I'm not going to promise that the rates are going to go up by any means. I don't want to promise and under-deliver. But this all, for me, and why I took this job, why I signed on with CalAm, knowing how people feel about CalAm, is I truly feel like we need source water. And for a long time, there's been objection to Desal in general. There's been objection to CalAm doing it. These aren't new concerns. Had we done this a decade ago, the cost would have been significantly less. It'd be paid for, it'd be nearly done. And I'm hearing the same arguments now. People are saying, well, let's wait another 10 years. Let's see how expansion, water cycling works. Let's see how these other things pan out before we do this big expensive project. And I get that conceptually, but I think, in my heart of hearts, I think that if we did wait 10 years, with the period of extended drought that we've had, severe drought in the last few years, I truly feel like we're going to be needing some source water in a decade. So we need to do this project now versus kicking it back and forth and saying, I'd rather they do it over they do it. I'd rather go this town versus this town. I mean, the site was selected because it was ideal. I wasn't involved in that, so I can't explain that.
Ideal would be not something most people would agree on.
Nobody wants something like this in their town. But it's also not going to be as impactful as I think people are concerned. And I get, if you have a big company coming in and doing water treatment in your town, in your dunes, I can see how that, and I feel like we've addressed that with environmental impact report, mitigations we've done. The picture I thought was pretty interesting. If you saw with the slant well going in, and the fact that we don't have an intake pipe is huge compared to a lot of the other desal projects that have been proposed, because there's no impact to the ocean. which, I've met with indigenous tribes, I've met with, people that, and I've said, environmentalists and
But that
everything.
pipe goes into the groundwater basin. It's not really.
It goes into the sand, and this is the big thing.
It goes into the groundwater basin.
Just, I was gonna ask about this.
Yeah, so it's the number I've heard, approximately 95%, we'll say, pretty darn close to that number, is salt water. So it's ocean water that goes in there, and the rest of it is sort of, I use the term percolation, and I was told that wasn't the proper term by the engineers, so I got to do a better job of getting. But basically, it's water that's sort of in the ground. It's not really it's not in an aquifer. It's just sort of where the water mixes down there in the sand. So that water is going to be, it's very minimal amount of fresh water that's going to be extracted. So it's not stealing fresh water. And by all means, Seaside Marina, any other town has the opportunity to get water as well, to buy water if they so choose. Don't have to.
What? Marina doesn't get any of this water.
They could if they needed or wanted.
They can't.
Why not?
There's no agreement to that. There's no agreement whatsoever.
There's not an agreement. They can always come up with it.
And I want to make sure, I think you told somebody yesterday, do you understand the 700 acre feet that would go to Castroville? You said something about this improves the CSEP numbers, that this gives more water to CSEP. Absolutely wrong. It doesn't touch CSEP. This is potable water. It goes to the city of Castroville, and all the people on the peninsula subsidize that 700 acre feet to Castroville at the tune of about $6,000 per acre foot, which is about $4.2 million every year, forever. And that's why this water is way too expensive.
So CSEP, you're
Just
right.
so you understand.
No, I get it.
CSEP has nothing to do with it.
It's now less water that this other water that's not going to have to go towards that, because now the other water, reclaimed water, can go towards other purposes. That's what I referenced.
No, CSIP is absolutely different water. It's not treated to potable standards.
Right. No, I get it.
And the peninsula and cities have been contributing to CSIP for 20 years. They've contributed 80,000 acre feet to CSIP. And now they're asking us to subsidize potable water to Castroville, on top of the most expensive water costs in the country. So this is getting out of control, and this is why people are so upset about this thing, that are going to have to pay for it.
Right. I get it. I'm a ratepayer as well. I might have mentioned before, but I grew up as a kid putting bricks in the back of the toilet. My mom said, "Hey, we got to save water. We put bricks in the back of the toilet to make a low flow toilet." I grew up as a kid with a bucket of water in the shower, so that we could save water, recycle, put it in the plants, just to save water for the environmental purposes of it, but also to save money. That's the way I grew up.
Why does CalAm believe that there's not enough water for Pure Water Monterey expansion?
I defer to the engineers on that one. I'm not going to claim to understand fully the engineering, but from what I've read, I agree, and I trust that the experts in this. I'm simply the.
Which experts? The Water Management District, Monterey 1, or CalAm?
Well, there you go. That's the thing.
There's a big difference.
I trust
Two
CalAm.
public agencies are saying there's enough water. One for-profit, investor-owned outfit is saying there's not enough, and so we have to build this really expensive desal plant.
Sure, I understand.
So who do you trust?
I understand the
It's
optics.
pretty obvious.
But from what I've read,
Can I grab 1 second for seeing if we want to do comments?
Conversations are starting to wind down at the table, so we want to make sure we have enough time for everyone to share their observations and comments. I know a lot of you have put a lot of thought into preparing your comments for tonight's meeting. So I've met many of you this evening. My name is Emily Finnegan. I'm part of a team with Stantec that has been working with CalAm just for the past few weeks to kind of understand what outreach and engagement has looked like for this project and how we can better facilitate a conversation with the community about the project today. So as Josh said at the start of tonight's event, this event was designed as an open house format, but we're aware that a number of you have statements and observations and questions, and really appreciate the comment cards that many of you have left. If you haven't had the chance to, we do have comment cards in the back, as well as a survey. Evan is back there waving. I know many of you have already left your comments, but really appreciate the time that you've taken to attend this evening and to share your feedback with us. So for this portion of the event, We will just have an opportunity for those that want to make a statement to do so. We're going to limit comments to 2 minutes so that we can be respectful of everyone's time and honor everyone's time this evening. My colleague Rihanna here will also be taking down any questions or comments and kind of key themes that we hear from tonight's event to capture for our notes. And of course, we also have CalAm staff here at the ready to answer any questions that you may have that they are able to. Okay, so we'll go through here, I think maybe starting with the first rows and work our way back, or we can just start by having everyone raise their hand for those that want to provide a comment. We'll kick things off. Anyone want to kick us off this evening? Absolutely. And if you could share your name, that would be great.
Hi there, I'm Dan Presser, and I've got a few notes here.
2 minutes.
Okay, 2 minutes. CalAm, you guys are relatively new. You're bad neighbors, and let me tell you why. For years, your company stole it from the Carmel River. And you hurt the environment, you hurt the fish, you hurt the wildlife. You were bad for the environment and bad for consumers. CalAm, you're bad neighbors. You overcharge CalAm users. We have the highest water bills in the entire nation, and your tiered system has failed. And your tiered system has failed the average consumer as well. CalAm, you're a bad neighbor. You might have even influenced LAFCO to overturn a legitimate vote by stopping Measure J, the proposition to buy you out so we can get rid of your shenanigans. Way over 50% of your ratepayers voted to boot you off the peninsula. 2 independent studies came to the conclusion that it is feasible to buy you out. The LAFCO vote is a sham. Why are people down county voting to stop what's going on and voted on legitimately in a peninsula election? Can you imagine what the people down county would say if we voted down something they wanted? We have no business doing that, and they have no business doing what they did. CalAm, you're a bad neighbor. With all this under your belt, you should be ashamed to stay here. You should put your tail between your legs and scam.
Okay,
and
we are
scram.
right about.
I'm almost done.
Okay, we'll give you.
You have quite a collection of being a bad neighbor. So why should we believe in anything you want to do? We are not for anything you want to do in our neighborhood.
Okay, sir.
Adios, muchacho.
And I see here that you've actually prepared some written comments. For those of you that have prepared written comments, if you're willing to share them with us, we'd love to collect those written comments from you. Is that something you'd be willing to share with us?
Yeah, I'm Eric Ryan. I'm the General Manager of the Castle Community Services District. I guess if you guys stole the water, everybody who bought it from you was bowling, but they were paying for stolen property, I guess. The whole Desal was set up so that it would benefit the basin element, the peninsula, and even CSIP. But what's happening is now is people who fight every time you try to get a water supply. You know, if you'll get your rates, how come they have all these taxes on there for the public agencies? Put their taxes on your bill, then these guys complain about the bill. With Castroville, what happens is we send our water to the plant to clean it up to grow crops. Carmel sends us water and goes to Pebble Beach. Then they want us to send water to them to fix their problem. The LAFCO vote, nobody in Salinas voted for it. All that pure water Monterey stuff that's going to go to benefit the peninsula and help Measure J, I guess. Somehow they're going to add $700 million bill to buy it. Then they're going to have a lawyer fees on top, so it's $30 million. Then you're going to use the same people and the same infrastructure, and you're going to make it cheaper. I don't know, maybe a math class would be a really good idea for a lot of people, but the desal's the best idea, and this drop's just going to prove it more and more. But I wish everybody who's against it would put their name up there So when the drought gets really bad, we can point to it and shut them off first. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think we're hearing some common themes here, particularly around financing for the cost of this and some concerns from the neighboring communities around regional water supply. Thank you for that. Yeah.
I have a question. My name is Anna Thompson. I live in Carmel. I'm a ratepayer. CalAm claims that its desal plant is needed to provide the third leg to a three-legged water supply stool. Prior to making this claim, shouldn't CalAm make sure that this third leg is not oversized or too expensive or that does not harm someone else's water supply stool? Shouldn't CalAm consider all viable alternatives? Do a cost-benefit analysis prior to deciding which leg fits best for the community? I oppose CalAm's proposed desal project. It is economically and environmentally flawed and unnecessary. It would do considerable damage to the Marina's water basins and coastal ecosystems. The Pure Water Monterey expansion will provide the peninsula all the water supply it needs for several decades at a fraction of the cost of the desal. We do not need this desal plant, and there's also a lot of other opportunities to get more water and capturing all the water, and we should not have a one-time water usage and then be sent back to the ocean. I think that we need to consider all the other alternatives. And if we still need a desal, it will not be this big, huge desal, and should have to have green energy, because we don't want to harm more so the environment and our air, which has created the biggest problem for us to be in a drought, in an extra drought. So I oppose the CalAm desal, and we should consider all the other alternatives, and then make sure that we have, if we need a desal, it will be the right size and it uses green energy. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you mind if I collect your comments?
Just real quick, I think those are good questions. There is, CPUC is doing a phase 2 right now on sizing of desal, so they're looking at that in terms of energy. It is looking at carbon-free energy too, but thank you for the comments.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for coming tonight. My name is Bruce Delgado. I'm reading from the 2019 Coastal Commission staff report. Marina has a disproportionate amount of nearby industrial developments, such as a regional landfill, regional composting facility, and a regional sewage plant. Nearby, Fort Ord is a contaminated site. Marina is also home to Sept sand mining facility, the last coastal sand mining operation in the country. Now that's been closed, and CalAm proposes to bring a new industrial facility into Marina on that same site. The same 2019 staff report from the Coastal Commission states on page 70, the community of Marina, although not within the CalAm service area, would be adversely affected because the proposed flat well field is in their city at a site that would otherwise be set aside for public access, passive recreation, and coastal resource protection, and because the proposed project could have an adverse effect on aquifers within Marina. The last thing I'll mention from that same staff report, importantly, a feasible project alternative exists that would avoid or reduce these environmental justice concerns and would also reduce the general public cost while providing ratepayers with an adequate water supply, and that is the Pure Water Monterey expansion project. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Yeah. Comments there about public access? I think
my name is Adam Pinteritz, and I guess I want to check in first. I've heard it said, including someone who commented before me, that recycled water is supposed to be adequate for needs. And I've been hearing that for I think over a year now. Is that about right? Was that determination or that assertion made about a year ago, maybe? Or a little less?
We can respond after.
Yeah, you can respond after, but I believe it's been said for a while, right, that the projected adequacy of recycled water would meet our future needs.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
When you said it's been said by...
I think folks at Pure Water Monterey and other folks that generally state that because it will be enough that we don't need desal. And I've been hearing that for about a year, I'd say. So that assertion was made and based on data that was collected prior to the assertion, I assume, before the new regional housing needs allocations were determined. So logically it follows that if the assertion was made before that determination of those housing needs were figured out, that then the same number cannot then meet the actual future needs for housing that have been determined. And I bring this up because housing affordability and availability is already a crisis on the Monterey Peninsula and in Monterey County in general. And the number one driving factor preventing us from getting enough housing inventory is the inability to build because of the lack of water. And it's difficult for me to understand how somebody can say that it's going to be enough water, that just with recycled alone, no desal, and yet we're going into rationing, right? We're in rationing, am I wrong?
Stage 2 water.
Stage 2, okay, excuse me, thank you for clarifying. So it just seems to me that we can have maybe a discussion about how big the desal plant is or what measures we can take to mitigate the environmental impact. But it just doesn't seem logical, in my view, that we can come anywhere close to meeting the housing needs and therefore addressing the long-term housing affordability of this region without considering options, including desal and other new water supply sources in the overall picture. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Is there any, I know there were some kind of questions weaved in there. Any comments? Yeah.
Just give a quick comment, just that for supplies on the peninsula, our historic supplies have been Carmel River and Seaside Basin. Both of those have been reduced by more than half in the last decade. Pure Water Monterey has been a great resource with a 3,500 acre feet being able to make up some of that. We are supportive of the expansion, getting more water, but we feel that based on our urban water management plan, more supply and demand studies done by our engineering team, that is an interim solution. We still need a drought-proof, long-term one for things like affordable housing. I grew up here. I have a lot of friends who moved here and then had to move back to Bay Area and other places because they couldn't find jobs that would pay for the housing. So, yeah.
Melody Krislov, Director of Public Water now. We don't need desal. We can't afford it. In Pure Water Monterey expansion, there's plenty of water for the next 20 years. CalAm has said that somehow if we just give you all this new supply, people will use more water. But the cost of water is what's limiting demand. There is no rationing. No one's telling us we can't use water. It's the expense that's limiting demand. As long as the price stays the same or rises, as with a new desal plant, the only new water used is going to be for growth. Okay, so the gentleman just a minute ago was questioning growth. According to the Ambeg Regional Growth Forecast, which includes both population and job growth, we would only require another 786 acre feet by 2045. And yet CalAm wants to provide us 6,200 acre feet of water. This is the problem, folks. This is why this community is up in arms. You're asking us to pay for water 200 years out, and we can't. The water here is the most expensive in the country, according to Food and Water Watch, who did that study in 2015. And they have not rescinded that. It's only gotten more expensive. And you can't blame Pure Water Monterey for the cost increase. Our water was the most expensive long before Pure Water Monterey added their water to the mix. I question whether you are here to really hear us, because this community has no control over CalAm. Don't think we do. The only people that control CalAm are the CPUC and the State Water Board. And they're investors. This is for their investors, not for us. And it never has been. They've overdrafted the Carmel River, they've overdrafted the Seaside Basin, and now they want us to pay for a profit-making desal plant for their investors. No thanks.
Would you be willing to share? Would you be willing to share those remarks? No? Would you be willing to share something? Okay, thank you. All right, so some comments there around understanding the broader kind of regional water supply. Again, some concerns about cost. I also heard some comments about state agencies and understanding the nexus between the State Water Board, Public Utilities Commission, and this local project.
I'd just like to remind CalAm that this will be built in a national marine sanctuary. And yes, we need water for people, but we also have animals who share this earth and who also have rights. And we've discovered over the years that our actions can have undue impact on the ecology, the ecosystems in the ocean. I just want to read a little bit from the Monterey Bay Marine Sanctuary report regarding a desalination plant. Without careful planning and mitigation measures, desalination plants have the potential to negatively impact the sensitive marine environment of the sanctuary. For example, marine organisms can be killed by the impingement against seawater intake screens or being pulled through the intake system. Marine life can be significantly impacted by the discharge of saline brine and other byproducts produced by desalination. And local seafloor habitat may be significantly altered by the construction of intake and outfall structures. I know that NOAA has a detailed report on the guidelines that you would be required to follow, but this would add significant cost with those additional guidelines because of this being in a marine sanctuary, and it's already expensive.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, that's a comment that I think I've heard from a number of you as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Claude Hutchison. I live in Carmel Valley. And our family has been coming to the Monterey Peninsula since 1968. In looking at water bills, there has been just a continual increase in the cost of a unit of water. What this reminds me of is someone, myself included, when I started out, I would rent a house and pay that to the landlord every month. And at the end of 2 or 3 years, I had a stack of canceled checks and rent receipts. What you're asking this community to do is to allow you to make a very significant investment in this desal plant. You're asking us to pay for it in the terms of rental checks to get our water. And at the end of the hunt, we're going to have canceled checks and you're going to have a plant that we have paid for. I, for one, am sick and tired of your getting your bills every month that only go in one direction. I'm sick and tired of having the business community essentially be subsidized with residential ratepayers through your tiered system. There is also no appreciation of the fact that those of us that live in Carmel Valley have a valley interior that is much warmer than the coastal communities. So for us to maintain our lifestyle and our homes, we bear the brunt of it through your tiered system. And I think that the tiered system at the high end is something like 10 times the base rate. We have voted as a community to take you out and to send you home. And everything you do is to impede that. This LAFCO fiasco is just a joke, an example of that. I would hope that you would have some degree of conscience and allow the will of the people as expressed in the recent election to buy you out and let us have a municipal utility district. Thank you.
Yeah, so another comment about finance, I think we can start to put some asterisks too and try to phrase what we're continuing to hear. Thank you. We'll go here, then here.
So my name is Sophia Bennett and I'm from Marina High School. I'm a senior this year and I'm here to advocate against CalAm because I learned in my Student Leaders of Change class about the environmental justice of this plant and how people against this were really trying to stop the pollution of our groundwater in Marina. And this desalination plant, even though it's trying to save water, it only saves about 45 to 50% of the fresh water that produces, compared to if you recycled water, you would get around 80%. And I feel like they're not taking into account how much this would impact the community of Marina and how us as a people don't have a really say in it, and we need to have more of a say, and people in this community that have lived here all their lives or have grown up here, because even though our community is small, we still have things that we want to do here, and as well as people that are visiting for recreational purposes. And I feel like that it's really important for the people to be represented and for them to have the rights to their water, because it's not only, you know, I understand you're a business and you're trying to create water so then we have water, but I feel like there's other resources and ways that can more efficiently have water and not pollute our environment, especially like our only source of water, not to only outsource to other communities that need water, but you're basically making our community a place where it's kind of like a wasteland where you're just taking it and you're not realizing that there's people here living and wanting to thrive in this community and that have a purpose. Thank you.
Amazing. We're all hope to be a senior in high school with the ability to stand up and share a public comment. Really appreciate you taking the time to do so.
I don't need that. My name is Phil Wellman, and I'm a resident of Carmel. And I've been involved in the fight for public water in this area for 8 years now. Very actively involved in it. And from the beginning, CalAm made it very clear what it is that they wanted in this community and what they wanted to do. And right from the beginning, you know, from the passage of Measure J and beyond that, we fought hard, and we fought hard in this community. And I appreciate the fact that you're nodding your head right now, and your colleague there is writing down our comments here. But all of us have made these comments hundreds, maybe thousands of times over the last 5 years. And this is just such bullshit. It is just such bullshit. And we really appreciate you sitting up there and listening to what it is that we're saying. You've sat up there, you've listened to what we've said before, you have done nothing. What you're asking for now is exactly the same thing that you were asking for 4 years. Exactly. It's exactly the same program. It's still bullshit 4 years later. It is still going to damage the environment. It's still, the rates for water in this community are the highest in the country. That hasn't changed. Nothing has changed. The only thing that's changed is you've brought together these people here in this very pleasant looking environment with two lovely girls standing up front taking our input. But what has changed? Nothing. Nothing. So I'm telling you right now, this is what's going to happen, and I'll predict it, is that over the next few months, you're going to amp up what it is that you're going to be doing. We're going to be amping up exactly what it is that we're doing. And there's going to be another battle in this community. That's what's going to happen. I'm just telling you the truth.
All right.
And we're going to fight hard for public water here, because that's what the people in this community want. That's what we want. All right?
Yeah. I think not only has it not improved, it's gotten worse. When I got here in 2009, I had a water test. It was 8 parts per million, and the acceptable level was 2 parts per million. Guess how much it is now? 11. You can't even drink the water without worrying about what it is you are imbibing. That's number one. I have other comments from people who could not be here. How can you justify the charges now? The quality is so bad. Never improved. You've had plenty of time. We don't trust you. That's BF in New Monterey. JRL says, of Seaside says, our water is brown. No more corporate grifting. No more price hikes every 2 months. It is our water, not yours. You have done nothing to improve in Seaside. WTF. That's me. Jesse on Fillmore in Pacific Grove says, Monterey has won. CalAm should scram. And
Point the mic up.
our water tastes awful. That's from Luzerne, ME in Luzerne, on Luzerne, it's Seaside. You haven't improved anything. You haven't shown us a good record or good faith. Why would we want to keep you?
Hearing some, concerns about the relationship with the community. I'm also, just one minute. I'm also hearing a number of comments about contamination in water. We do also have a staff member here with us tonight who is available to answer questions about water quality. Over here.
I'm here, and my name is Gab Wang. I'm the Director of Water Quality. So
Hi, my name is Christina Medina Dirksen, and I'm glad to see so many people here. I'm a city council member in the city of Marina, but most importantly, I'm a 24-year resident of Marina. And I didn't hear if we heard who's here from CalAm, because the question I have, we have a water quality expert, is there anybody in this room that can guarantee that Marina's water will not be compromised? That's my question. I'd like to hear from any of you that can answer whether your processes are so advanced that your project won't compromise our water, meaning you won't contaminate our water, meaning our water rates will stay as they are. Actually, that's my question. So, and also I just want to thank people from Pebble Beach, Mary Jane, the gentleman over here from Carmel Valley. He may very well be on another side of the coin, but we're here to learn, and Marina is fighting because we have to, and we always have had to. But that doesn't mean we don't have our eyes and ears closed to communication, and this is a good forum for everybody to listen to one another, even those who are steadfastly proponents of CalAm. I just want to say that I'd love to hear if any of your experts here from your company can answer my question of whether there is a guarantee that Marina's water will continue to be safe with your project in place.
I want to know if my water if you can guarantee that my water will continue to be safe and priced as it is. Okay.
just for the record, I have a PhD in environmental engineering, and I have been in the water business for almost 30 years. I've run the big treatment operations for another organization before I joined the CalAm. Okay, so for monitoring water quality, we do all the operations. We meet all the compliance requirements. To answer your questions about guarantees, I cannot guarantee anything. I cannot guarantee anything, but I want to respond to your question directly, point to point. I see no reasons your water will be contaminated. Based on my the training background, based on all my years of experience.
And is it right, Jeff?
Hi, I'm Karen Anderson, and I have a couple things to say. Mainly, a lot of people filled out questions back here on the boards and on the index cards, and I'd like you to go through them tonight and answer those questions too, please, even though people may or may not have left.
Thank you. My name is Audra Walton. I am a resident of Marina. I just have a few questions for you. I'm hoping that you can walk us through the process with respect to the slant wells. I understand that the pipes are perforated and go up and draw seawater from underneath the ocean as well as through the water basin itself. I'd like for you to clarify that for us. Maybe draw a picture so that we can really imagine what that would look like for our community. And then how many projects like this particular slant well desalination project exist on the face of this planet, and how many of them are already successful? I'd like to know with respect to, and I think we talked about the salt water intrusion, with respect to that pipe, I want to know how we're going to mitigate any saltwater intrusion that those pipelines, those slant wells, and like I said, you're going to walk us through it so we can understand better how these wells will draw the water and how it will not cause saltwater intrusion into our water basin. I understand that with respect to our snowy plover, this is an environmental disaster for them, so I'd like to understand how CalAm is planning to mitigate that as well. And I'd like to understand that tonight, this evening, before we leave. Thank you.
Yeah, we'd love to have you come back to the table. I can show you on the diagrams back there. It'd be a little better than trying to draw it again.
Can we bring the diagram?
We have it all sketched out back there. But I'd like to say, just from my experience on the slant well, I personally constructed the slant well at Sept. It was a test well that was built. It was one of the State Water Resources Control Board specifically asked us to build a test well to prove it out. And we did that in 2015 and ran for 2 years without any issue.
Well, I thought it caused some saltwater intrusion.
No, it did not. And it successfully captured about 94%, 93% ocean water, and it ran without any problems. And we also had an extensive monitoring network installed on the backside of the slant well, where it was drawing water on the backside, to show that it did not migrate inland at all. So there was proven that there was no harm. And Coastal Commission permitted that test slant well, and for those that have all been around for a while with the Coastal Commission, you know they took a hard look at that data, because I see members of the audience who raised concerns about the data, and they took a hard look at it, and they were convinced that it was fine. So that's, I think the test well that we had built proved it out that it works just fine. One last minute on snowy plovers. I know that issue has been raised, but again, that was not from the test slant well. And I don't believe there's been any change. In fact, Point Blue, who monitors the snowy plovers, we asked them the data that was brought forth that there was a decline. We asked them to look at that, and they said it has nothing to do with the well. I'm not a bird person, but whatever they said it's not slant well.
I just want to say that all of the people's questions here are viable, and I may not come up with a question, but I would like to hear the answers to these. And I thought that this forum tonight was supposed to be here for you guys to answer our questions, and I'm not hearing any answers. I'm seeing you were the only person that said anything, and now I'm sorry, you just answered a question too, but I thought this was supposed to be a conversation and answers to our questions. And I don't want to do it 2 weeks from now. I came here tonight to get the answers, and I don't want CalAm to be able to put a spin on it, go back, get all these questions, and then go in front of the newspaper and have a whole different story of what is actually happening here tonight. That's the problem, is that we want to hear the answers. We never get them. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Jacob Morales. I am with Native American Students United here at CSUMB, and I'm very proud to call Marina my home. I won't be asking a question, just making a comment. I'd like to point out that everybody's here from all over the peninsula. I think that's important to recognize, and with respect. The people that you brought here today, they don't look like Marina. I think it's important to look at Marina, to take a drive when you guys leave here tonight, and you see black people, you see brown people, you see people of color, you see Asian people of all backgrounds, and that is why your facility in and of itself is environmental racism. And I think we need to look at that. No matter the water quality issues, no matter the issues to our species, we need to look at the people that you're directly impacting and make sure you cater to their needs.
Appreciate that comment.
Thank you.
Well, I think that one is, I know that in Carlsbad, the people of Carlsbad really fought the desal plant, and it didn't matter. They ended up getting the desal plant. My question is the desal plant going to help the people of Marina? Are you giving water to the people of Marina? And if not, why is it even built here?
Those are my questions. Why are you building it in Marina when people in Marina will not benefit from it? Not a single drop.
I have a really important question. So you held this open house from 6 to 8, correct? And the open house was an hour and 30 minutes, and then the Q&A was 30 minutes. I don't really understand why you only allow 30 minutes for the people to talk, because I know there's a lot of people that want to advocate for either side of this issue. So I feel like it may have probably been better if it was like split in half, like an hour for people to get here, and then have like an hour for people to like talk and have more discussion, so then we can kind of feel more satisfied with us being here to advocate for our issue.
And I'll just...
My name is George Riley, and I sit on the local Water Management District Board, but I'm speaking as an individual. I have a simple question. One is, you have a breakout table over here about your bill and what's it composed of. And I would think as you promote Desal, you would have some updated information about what Desal would do to your bill, which wasn't available tonight. My basic question is, has and how will the current estimated cost of Desal, which as I recall was initially made at a PUC hearing in 2016, I think. That's like 6 years ago, with no inflation, no supply chain problems, no calculations about anything being updated. When and how will we learn what the projected cost of Desal would be under the situation that exists today? Yeah, we're looking at that now, and as I was sort of relaying to you last night was, we're taking a look. Where's Tim? Tim's over here. He's our engineering manager, local engineering manager, and we are looking at that now. It's taking a little bit of time to get it together because of the supply chain issues, and so we're looking at cost indexes, engineering cost construction indexes to somehow forecast that number. But right now it is very difficult to get any updated pricing from contractors, especially equipment and electrical equipment related to Desal. It is just a difficult thing. Many of the vendors won't even give you a price unless they have a locked contract and a surety of when a project's going to start. So we're going through it. We're doing the exercise. When the time is right and the venue is right, probably maybe the PUC will ask for it through this phase 2 or a future phase, I don't know. But we will present that when we have the cost figured out.
It just seems like the numbers
And then
when we hear it.
I'm sorry?
It just seems like under the circumstances, the number's going to be frightening when we hear it.
Yeah, I think that's true of anything, and that we keep delaying. Pure Water Monterey was a heck of a lot more than they said it was, double the price. So I think I've had this conversation, I don't know if Mark's still here, but I had a conversation with Paul Shudo about it too. I'm not sure if their pricing is going to hold up as well. So it's just the environment that we're all facing. Well, luckily, I think one part of it is we had built some of the original components of the Desal project. We built 7 miles of pipeline. We're proposing to build more pipelines on General Jim, or we're proposing to put in some wells that will start in a couple of years. So, some of these facilities and pump stations are being built right now. So luckily, some of these facilities have been built already. So the remaining ones are sort of isolated to Desal components. So
When this desal project was envisioned, why was nobody asking this question? If you're going to give 700 acre-feet of water to Castroville for $100 an acre-foot, and ask the Monterey Peninsula residents to pay for the remaining costs, which I believe you said $6,000 an acre-foot, something like that, to produce this water, that's $6,000 times 700 is $4.2 million a year that you're asking the Peninsula ratepayers to subsidize to give Castroville free water. Didn't anybody look at this when you figured this out and say, hey, nobody's going to think that's fair? I don't understand how this ever got through. I mean, to be giving free water to Castroville at the expense of the Peninsula ratepayers on top of their outrageous bills already.
go here and then just right.
Just a couple of comments. My name is Marley Melton from Carmel Valley, but sympathetic to the Marina. And as far as housing, we could be building housing right now. In fact, people could be just about ready to move in even. But CalAm held up approval of public water expansion, which would be supplying the water that we need to build housing. But 2 years has passed. The project was ready to go, to move forward, I believe, 2 years ago. And CalAm prevented it from moving forward. It seemed like they were just hoping to win at the Coastal Commission for their project to do Desal instead. The second comment has to do with an alternative to the CalAm Desal project. Not just the public water Monterey expansion, but as you correctly noticed, the 30-year water supply has now been, an assured 30-year water supply has now been downsized a bit to 20 years assured water supply from the Pure Water Monterey expansion. And that's because of the state's mandate to build more housing. And it's not just water that's the shortage, it is land. Many cities are completely built out and it's hard to find a place to put a lot more housing. But we could do it for at least 20 years. And then, during that time, if we did not have to deal with CalAm, we could be working together on a nonprofit regional water supply that would benefit Marina, the Monterey Peninsula, Carmel Valley, and perhaps other communities. And at that time, I think we would have better technology available to us. And we'd be able to do it on a nonprofit basis, which would be more affordable. And instead of shipping the profits that a CalAm project would have out of our community to their shareholders, we would have money available to deal with other difficult climate problems that different communities will be facing.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that piece around housing suggested this. I think it's a great thing.
My name is Jennifer Haydu. I'm a resident of Monterey and have been on the peninsula for almost 30 years and have a small business here myself. And I think this is an interesting thing to witness tonight. I'm seeing a lot of layers to this. Well, it was billed as a conversation, but a conversation usually goes both ways and has an exchange. It doesn't really feel like a conversation. It feels like a lot of commentary. That's a healthy thing too, but not if it just keeps going in circles and circles and circles. And my experience of this quote conversation on the peninsula is that it hasn't always happened in good faith. And I think the thing that I would like to remind us all of is context. Two things, that water is a human right. We're not talking about building widgets. We're not talking about building tennis shoes. We're talking about water, which is a basic human right. And the other piece of that context is profit. So things do cost money, and there are always trade-offs in every community, always. We can't keep the environment pristine ever. If you want to have growth, there are always trade-offs. But the difference is when you have a trade-off and the motivating factor is profit, that is very different than when the motivating factor is just different community issues bumping up against each other. And that, I think, is the reason that you see so much emotion and frustration that comes from the community in these conversations, because we're not just talking about the technicalities of the engineering and the environmental issues, we're talking about profit with regards to being a motivating factor for those decisions. And then also that profit is not staying in this community. CalAm Water is owned by a company that, yes, some of the people that work for CalAm are our neighbors. We respect you, we respect your knowledge, we know that you're just trying to make a living like everyone else and you're well educated, and all of that is true, but ultimately, the motivating factor that drives CalAm is profit that goes out of our community, and that is very, very frustrating to us.
Thank you. We're almost at time. Thank you. I just wanted to circle back to my question. I don't know that I heard from you where the other slant well desalination plants are, how successful they are for the communities that they provide water for.
Yeah, so the slant well technology itself has been around for quite some time. They use it quite often to dewater mines. And so it's the same application on a coastal area. And I would say there are other type of slant well technologies that have been used, horizontal drilling, and they turn them in the Middle East and whatnot. The type of well that we're using, which is a slant well, which is used in the demining that I mentioned, Doheny Point has put in a test well, and we put one in, and they both work very successfully. I would say we are likely on the forefront of that technology. And it's not a new technology, it's just a different application used on the ocean. So it's new. Well, it's new for desal. It's new for desal, and it was developed. Again, it's been used in the past, but
On the ocean?
not the exact type that we're proposing. The one in Doheny Point and the one put here in Sept were two of the early California coast wells to prove it out. And that was brought forward because the technology was recognized as a solution to avoid open ocean intakes. And so that's something that the Coastal Commission has desired for desal plants to use. So it's been somewhat perfected. It's a 100-year-old technology. All wells are vertical. All it is turned on an angle. So it's nothing new. It's just a different application of existing wells.
So technology is new. It's not new. So it's technology is 100 years old technology, just a different application. So just share a background I had. Before I joined the CalAm, I was at the Louisville Water Company. So we built the largest the well intake from the Ohio River. So instead of taking water from the Ohio River directly, we built the horizontal wells, like slant wells, to underneath of the Ohio River. So we draw the water from that way. So that improves the water supply quality, stability. And that project has won the best American Society of Civil Engineering award. So we were competing with the Dallas, the stadium. We were competing with the British, the bridge project. So of the 5 projects, we won out because of this particular application. So you can Google search those type of things. So technology is not new application, just with different combinations.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tom Moore. I'm on the board of directors of the nonprofit Marina Coast Water District, and I'm also on the board of directors of the nonprofit Monterey One Water, but I am not speaking tonight as a board member. These are just my personal opinions. It is important in this debate, to the extent we can get to share the same facts and believe the same facts, because that's probably a good starting point in these debates. So I do want to make one clarification related to the housing needs assessment. It is true that all 6 cities served by CalAm received substantial demands to build new housing out of that regional housing assessment. However, if anyone asserts that there's no water for that for any of those 6 cities, that's only partly correct. 3 of those 6 cities have plenty of water to meet their housing needs assessment. Delray Oaks and the city of Monterey all have substantial acreage unbuilt and developed on the former Fort Ord and Marina Coast has promised to provide water that was allocated to them for whatever purposes they wish to use that land by the Fort Ord Reuse Authority when it existed. Similarly, the city of Seaside is already in the process of a project that would provide substantial additional housing in the campus town, and there is water also available for that. So it's really only 3 of the 6 cities served by CalAm that are kind of stuck. And of course, there are folks who believe that the water demand forecasts, we've ourselves hired some experts that may somewhat disagree with experts that CalAm hires, but you know, that's the way it goes with experts. Sometimes we don't always agree, but our experts seem to think that pure water Monterey expansion will allow for a degree of growth even within some of the cities that don't have access to the former Fort Ord properties. So just wanted that clarification so that we're all working from the same set of facts as part of the debate. Thank you.
Good evening. I am Jen Schreiner. I am the president of the board of Marina Coast Water District, and I wanted to bring up several points that I don't think your current consultants have heard before, but that I reached back into notes from 2019 and 2020 to the Coastal Commission. My comments are regarding CalAm's proposed desal project only, and the fact that the proposed slant wells are legally infeasible because the proposed desal intake wells cannot be legally operated, and CalAm's ability to obtain coastal development permit for the project is uncertain. CalAm's desal project should not be included in portfolio of available future water supplies. The wells cannot lawfully operate under California water law and regulations for at least the following reasons. First, CalAm does not have and cannot obtain groundwater rights for the location. Second, the project would harm Marina Coast groundwater supply over the life of the project by deliberately increasing seawater intrusion. Third, the project would violate the annexation agreement for the CEMEX site, which limits pumping to only 500 acre-feet per year for the express purpose of reducing seawater intrusion and protecting groundwater. Fourth, the pumping would violate the Monterey County Water Resources Agency Act, which prohibits export of groundwater from the Salinas Valley groundwater basin. Fifth, the project is inconsistent with the Regional Water Quality Control Basin Board's Basin Plan, which prohibits deliberate contamination of groundwater. Sixth, the project is inconsistent with the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act and would make it impossible for Marina Coast to meet its obligations as a GSA. And for Castroville, the project would also be inconsistent with the objectives of the Salinas Valley GSA's GSP because it would increase seawater intrusion, lower groundwater levels, and eliminate groundwater storage from the basin. And to me, that's a conversation ending statement. But I really wish we could have a conversation about regional solutions and how Marina is in the middle of it. A Marina Coast Water District would like to make the most of recycled water, surface water projects, and not have a corporation 32% rate of return on investment right within our district. And the California American president who was here with us before, Rob McLean, stated to us in our city council chamber, the reason it can't be in Carmel is because those people wouldn't allow us to do this.
Yeah, I think understanding that the nexus between this project and groundwater, regional groundwater supplies is certainly one that we've heard a few times this evening.
Thank you all very much for coming. It's been a long night for all of us, and we kind of changed the format to have this ending here, and it actually, I think it worked out really well. I think we learned a lot. Hopefully you learned, and not all your questions were answered, but hopefully we can answer some. So thank you very much. My contact information is back there. Feel free to contact me if there are any specific questions. And thank the CSUMB team for setting up the room and everything and setting all this up. And thank you all for coming, most importantly. Have a good night.